Vauxhall on a 2014 van have decided they're not going to make the bonnet release catch anymore. Now we have the alternator and the starter motor back, and you wouldn't believe it. 2013 or 14 Vauxhall Vivero, Opel Vivero, Nissan Prima Star, Renault Master, they're all more or less the same. This is the 1.9 I believe, and what's happening with this one, ignition comes on, hold on, ignition comes on, but absolutely nothing. So all the ignition comes on, absolutely nothing. When the customer bump start it, so put it in gear, push it, it starts, it drives absolutely perfect. There's only two issues it can really be, well technically three. Three main ones, let's say, there could be loads. Ignition barrel does give problems with them. There could be the wire between the ignition barrel and the start motor, or the starter motor. It's the starter motor in this case. I've done other videos on how to diagnose things and how to diagnose that. But anyway, we're going to show you how to take the starter motor out of one of these on the floor, no lift, no nothing. They are kind of awkward. First thing we need to do, disconnect the battery. Okay, the battery is disconnected. Just make sure it doesn't fall back on itself to connect itself again. Started doing this, so it's easy to take the airbox off, get it out of the way. You do it a few ways. You can take off the 4 bolts, 2 in the front, 2 on the back. There's one on the back which is really awkward to get to because it kind of goes where the bleed nipple is at the back, and it's kind of really hard to get to. So it's maybe easier sometimes just to take this off and then take the frame off, or leave the frame in. But you want to get the airbox off. You want to be getting the pipe off, the turbo pipes down here. You want to be removing all them, the cold intake pipe as well, and you can then, dog can see the rabbit. Airbox off. You want to disconnect the oil filler here, and disconnect the map sensor, disconnect the breather pipe here, and a few other pipes around, and that should just kind of lift off with these little rubber tabs. There's 4 of them on it. Right, so once you've done that, you'll see, you can kind of see everything a lot better. That's the cold intake pipe. You just push that down and that releases out of here, and you've got the 4 grommets that just pop out of the frame, and then you have the airbox down there. What we need to do now is just take off this pipe, the cold intake pipe, just again so we can see a lot more down here. I just remembered the last one I did of these was on a lift, so I'm going to make my life a little bit easier because it only takes a few minutes. I'm going to remove the front grille, 3 T30 Torx, and it just pops out of the top there, and that comes out. Then what I'm going to do is just see the bolt here for the intercooler, take the intercooler off. It'll just allow me to have a look at the front of the engine a lot easier for the sake of a couple of minutes. Right people, change of plan. We are going to be stripping the whole front of this off because I've just noticed something, more or less a brand new starter. So we need to check the wires properly, but also I suggested to the customer, look, because the alternator and the starter motor are really awkward in these, we might as well just do it all in one go. So we're going to take the whole front off. There's nothing wrong with the alternator, but we're going to get a new regulator, everything put in it. We're going to check the wires for everything, make sure it is the starter motor and nothing else. We're going to replace the water and the coolant in the radiator, just going to do everything. So I'm not going to film all, but there's just bolts, nuts and bolts, 10mm, 13mm, there's Torx, there's all sorts of things. This has been off before, that's been bodged, this has been broke, and it must have been the last time the alternator was done, I'm guessing, I don't know. Torx here, bolts here, Torx there, and then the dog can see the rabbit. Worried that you're taking a lot of nuts and bolts off and you don't really know where they go. What you can do is, once you take the thing off, just put the nuts, bolts, whatever you can back into place, so then when this comes back on, you know what nuts and bolts go where. Boom, sorted. Simples. Right, the dog can see the rabbit. I'll just tell you what I've done, so I can't film it because I'm just on my own and I haven't got my proper camera with me. As you can see, we took the whole front off, a lot easier. And the customer, I don't know if I've already said this, but the customer's going to get the alternator reconditioned. Even though it's fine, just put a new regulator in it, new fan belts, and you can see now that there's been a new starter put in this. I can't see any markings or anything, so I think it's kind of a cheap aftermarket one. But what I've just quickly done off camera is on the kick wire here, which is the wire from the ignition, which is what basically turns everything on and makes it start. I've just put my test light on it, turned the ignition, and the test light's lit up. That's how you know the wiring is okay. Don't just use a multimeter, because a multimeter can show the 12 volts, but a test light will actually put a bit of pressure on the wire, and you know, if there's any issues, if it's cracked internally, the test light won't light up. Just like, for example, look what we found. This is about to snap, and that's for the bonnet. But when you look at it, apart from the rust, now it's made it a bit worse, but if you looked at that initially, it didn't look too bad, but it's internally where it's bad. So that's where you do. And now we can clearly see what we're doing. This one I don't think would be possible to undo without taking off the front. Some of them you can do, but this one I don't think it is, because you just haven't got enough room between here and the radiator. So make your life easier, just take off the front. Now we need to disconnect the battery again, because I had to reconnect the battery to test that. And what happens with the ignition is, normally on all the ones I've ever seen, the ignition sticks and burns out the starter. So that is not happening because it's not trying to start, and I've tested the wires and it's actually turning as you know, that light's lighting up as I'm turning the ignition. So that's what to watch out for, the ignition. The ignition sticks on, puts all the power to the starter and basically fries it. So even when the ignition's gone, you still need a new starter because it fries both of them. So you've got a couple of nuts for the top to hold the main wire in. You've got an 8mm nut to hold the kicker wire in, or the exciter wire, whatever you want to call it. Then I think on this one we've only got 2 bolts, but I've always said, especially if you're starting off and you want to buy ratchets, always buy a flex head ratchet. I personally don't like the ones with the locks on. I like the ones that are kind of free flowing, because sometimes the ones with locks on, they're you know, you could be in between the locks and it's just annoying. Now the locks have their own advantages. Technically you need all of them, ones with locks, ones without. That's why being a mechanic is just ridiculous with tools. But you can see the angle that I'm doing it here. Unless I start taking off all this plastic bracket and all the pipes there to get a straight bar in, which I'm just not going to. So yeah, flex head ratchet, just make sure it's not floppy. No one wants a floppy head. We've got the start motor out, only 2 bolts on this. Some of them have 3 of the older models, I think. So the top bolt was awkward. You have to really just get your fingers in there, unless you start removing a lot of stuff, which isn't worth it. Now the more or less the same wires go into both, so once you take off one, you know, it's just connected to them. And then there's 2 10mm to take off this, and the bottom one is easier to get with a ratchet spanner. The top one you can get with a ratchet, but the bottom one just get with a ratchet spanner. Right, I don't know if you can see, but I have just smashed my head. The bonnet landed on my head, and there's a huge bump there. Fucking ow. Right, anyway, more or less done now, ready to get everything checked over and reconditioned. This slip pulley doesn't feel great. So in some ways this is a good thing. That's not going to last too much longer. So new reg, new pulley or new clutch, and yeah, the bottom bolt won't come out fully, but it doesn't need to because it's recessed at the top. See the here? So you don't actually need to take the bolt out fully for it to pass through here. So don't be worried thinking, oh, I have to jack up the engine or put the engine down or anything like that. No, you don't. Just get out all the way until it's loose, and then the alternator will come off. We're going to get these checked out, reconditioned, and put it all back in. This job just evolved and evolved and evolved, and this is the problem. Lucky enough the customer understands. Sometimes they don't. They blame you for this, but it is what it is. Just use the lever bar, but be careful using lever bar because you can snap the tabs off. But you can see the little cutout I was telling you about here, look. So you don't need to get the bolt fully out and it'll still come past. But these are what you have to be careful of, because these, as you screw in, these come out and get it nice and tight. And that's what's stopping you getting the alternator out. So be very careful of them little tabs. So for a job that just started off as a non-starter is now turned into starter motor, alternator, bonnet, catch, wire, fresh coolant and water. It's amazing how these things just evolve. But a lot of this is preventive maintenance. This is still working, but it's going to break. The alternator is still working. It's all down here, but it does, like I said, it just doesn't, should be a lot smoother than that. So that clutch is definitely going. This is not going to last too much longer. It could last another year, but it could last another 2 years, but it's going. It's going. Get that sorted. This is just a cheap aftermarket alternator or starter motor, which isn't good. Also a new fan belt. Oh, and I'm falling, and my head is fucking banging. Oh, that bonnet, it was hard. Anyway, Let me get these sorted and then we'll put it all back together.
Right, just a few seconds for you, nearly over a week and a half for me, and you won't believe what happened. Couple of things. Opal, Vauxhall, whatever you want to call it, do not make these bonnet catchers anymore. Now, Nissan might and Renault might, but the problem is Renault are moving out of Ireland, so that's another issue. Another problem is if I don't have a chassis number or number plate, I cannot order it from Nissan because they won't order it in case it's wrong for this van, even though they're right, but they don't want to order it because, you know, it's horrible and it's awkward for everybody. So I had to get that from Germany because Vauxhall on a 2014 van have decided they're not going to make the bonnet release catch anymore. So I had to get that from there. The alternator, he said, and he was laughing at me when I said, oh, we got an issue with the starter motor. He's put a couple of new things in the starter motor. This is just what you get with cheap aftermarket crap. But anyway, and I said, look, I was going to take out the alternator as well at the same time, just, you know, for preventive maintenance. And he kind of laughed at me. He said, why are you doing that? You know, they're awkward. I said, well, I'm taking the whole front of the van off, so it's not too bad. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, but still, you know, you've only got a starter motor issue. Anyway, this alternator, he said, wouldn't have lasted another 5 miles. It was falling apart. Put a new clutch on. The clutch wasn't too bad, he said, but he's put a new clutch on, a new regulator on, but everything internally in this, he said, was completely shot. It was hanging out of it. So I tell you something, it's just as well we did it, because we would have got the starter motor back, put all this back together, and then we would have had an issue, and it just wouldn't have looked good for me. The customer would have been annoyed, everyone would have been pissed off. So what I'm going to do, I have to do it off camera because he's not going to be able to see, even when I got the whole front of the van off. I'm just going to put the starter motor and the alternator on, and I got a new fan belt as well. We're going to do a full flush for the radiator, new coolant and all that. I'm going to do that in a separate video, but let's get these in and let's get cracking, because we've only got a few hours before it starts pissing it down apparently today. Right, you have to be careful doing this. What we need to do is we need to push back these little tabs, because that's what squeezes the alternator onto the actual bracket and it keeps it nice and tight. But when you're trying to put it back on, these are really tight and they're annoying. So one of the easiest things to do is screw them back on, or screw the bolts back on, and gently tap them. These are just completely and utterly seized. So what we're going to do is very gentle heat. Be careful doing this. Because that might blow up. Fucking thing. Oh, this is not good. There we go. No, it's not working. Any flamethrower here? What's going on? What the hell? This is not good. Oh, come on, stop. Hope that should go back now. I think it did. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. God damn you. What is going on? Must be the cold. Doesn't have to go back a lot, just a little bit. Hopefully now it'll go in. So let's get this out of the way. see what I'm doing? Hopefully we got enough. We got enough on the bottom one, yeah, and we got enough on the top one. So let's put the bottom bolt in a little bit because it won't fit on in place because of the chassis legs in the way. So that can go on. And the top one should be easy enough. And there we go. Right, there we go, it's on. Right, I think we're all ready to go. We have a new fan belt on, we have the alternator, the starter motor on. I've just put the water pipes on because I'm going to start it now in a minute. I want it to heat up. We might get a few engine lights because we haven't got certain pipes and sensors connected. When you are doing starter motors and LTs, make sure, regardless whether they're working before or not, just clean every single connection, you know, with a wire brush, with sandpaper. Ignore the brake file. I didn't use that to clean all the connections because I was too lazy to find anything out, so just ignore that. But yeah, that's what you want to do. So get everything nice and clean before you put everything back together and you should be good to go. So what we're going to do now is make sure nothing's touching anything. We're going to give this a start and see what happens. Okie dokie, let's see if it starts. I don't know what condition the battery's in. Well, we've got ignition lights. Oh yeah, that's going to be because we got stuff disconnected, so I wouldn't worry about the light yet, but I don't know if it was on before. Right, isn't it stupid when you get a new bonnet cable you don't actually get the handle? The handle is separate. Now the handle was separate on the main dealer one as well, and even the aftermarket one, it's separate. It's just crazy. And to be fair, even the main dealer one wasn't that expensive, which I was surprised. You know, it wasn't ridiculously. It was still, it's expensive for what it is, but it's not ridiculous if you know what I mean. Anyway, so I knew that we didn't get the we didn't actually get the handle with it, but like I said, we don't need the handle. It's simple enough to take off. Come under here, we just need to pull, this little pin out here, and then we should be able to, we can get that out without breaking it. I'm gonna have to use both my hands, but pull this little pin out and then we'll disconnect it from the other end, and we should be able to pull it all the way out this way. As a bonnet release cable goes, it's fairly handy to install compared to some cars where you have to take, you know, wings off or wing liners off and do all sorts of crap, wheels and everything. So this one isn't too bad, to be fair to it. And the way to take it off from this end is undo the bolts, which I already had, which you would already undo anyway, but I just put them back on there so I know where they went, and just separate the two plates and you can see the other end there. Very, very simple. Stay. Hokey cokey, as you can see, we are getting there. So we're getting less and less bolts, and that means we're putting more and more stuff on. Now I do have to be careful, I don't want to go too far because the bleed nipple for the old radiator one's down there. I think there's another one somewhere else, I'll have to check. So I don't want to put too much on before I do that, so I'm going to do that in a separate video. But we're getting there basically. Got the intercooler on, got the radiator back in place. This bonnet catch, what a nightmare. I didn't think I'd have an issue with it in that sense, but just absolute nightmare. That needs to be back there a bit. And you have to, the issue was the old one, and I thought it came out but it didn't. The old one has this plastic, that just twatted me in the face, fuck's sake. The old one has this, so when you push the little pin down it opens and holds it there. I thought it came out the other one, but it doesn't, and it's not included with the other one. So what I had to do is I had to put a cable tie on it from there to there, and it holds it. It holds it fine, that's not a problem. It just doesn't feel great compared to the other one. But then it is cheap aftermarket shit, so yeah, not good. But what can I do? It's better than the one that came off, so there's not a lot I can do about it, unfortunately. Right, we're getting there. We've got the lights on, we've got kind of the front on. Still haven't put the airbox back in, but we've got all the frame put back in, we've got most of the clips put back in, bled the radiator, so we've done the full radiator thing. So now, oh, I forgot to mention how I did taking the handle off. So this handle here, how I managed to take the handle off. So I got some pliers and I put them at the bottom, and I got another set of pliers and just levered them against the bottom set of pliers, and it pops straight off. So that's how I did that. We've still got an engine light and stuff on because the map sensor, nothing is connected. So, but again, I don't know if an engine light was on before this. So once I actually put everything back together, I will be doing a full scan to make sure it's nothing I've done that the engine light was on for, but I honestly don't know at the minute. So we're getting there, we're quite close. I'm still trying to do all this before the old weather kicks in, so yeah. Right, okay, we are done, it's all back together. Everything looks good. There is an engine light on, it says check emissions. Now, I don't know if it's anything to do with, of course I had all the sensors disconnected, so maybe I just need to reset everything. Maybe the light was already on, I don't know. But we're going to have a quick look now at what the scan data says, what the error codes say, take it for a drive, make sure it's okay. Definitely make sure the water is circulating. I've got hot air inside, but that doesn't mean anything. Well, it does, but it doesn't. So I just want to double check, triple check, absolutely everything. Oh, one thing I do need to do, and I'm a bit scared of this. Alright, hold on. Let me... Right, bonnet catches, good. What I did do to cheat, because the bonnet cable was a little bit long, because cheap aftermarket shit, I put a cable tie here and I squeezed it. So in other words, I shortened the cable because I had room here, and as I was pushing the cable, because it's bolted there and it's bolted in there, all I was doing was making the cable shorter, if that makes sense. If you've ever done one, you'll know what I mean. And the cable feels better, but I haven't checked to see if it actually pops. Oh, it does. It does. It does. Lovely. And it goes back down. Nice. Whew, I was a bit worried about that. Right, you can see the error message on the dash. Check emissions. We've got the spanner light and we've got the engine light. And we are using my Autofix new scan tool. It's awesome. I've just plugged it in. It automatically recognises everything. Don't you just love it? And it just need to say which one it is. We're going to do a standalone. And we're going to go press OK. So we'll let that do a scan. Take this for a drive and we're going to see what the story is. It's read the... Right, we'll just do a full scan. See what it says. You should really stay out or watch out for the videos. I don't know what's going to be released first, but I'm going to be doing some videos on this just because this is more than a scan tool. The stuff you can plug into this is unbelievable. Battery testers, oscilloscopes, cameras, but it's not... I'll show you. I've actually, and very easy, not difficult, I've actually managed to put some other software on there so you can use any battery tester. I've got a battery tester from Hobby Tools and the program is on this, and it's very easy to put it on and then it works. But I've also got their battery tester that obviously they've got their own program internally built in. Again with the bore scopes, I've got their camera with their software, but all the cheap shitty Chinese ones still plug into it and still use their same software, and you know they haven't locked it. That's what I'm trying to get. Oh, here we go. Yeah, look. So it was everything that I've done. So what we'll do is we'll just turn the ignition back on. Key's a bit dodgy in that. Let's turn the ignition back on. We'll just go quick erase. So the ignition's on now, but the engine is off. But yeah, so getting back to that, so you know they haven't blocked basically anything, so you can only use their, you know, their specific battery test or their specific camera and stuff like that, which I just think is really good, because a lot of companies would do that to force you to buy their one, where these haven't, which is really good, I think. Right, so that's done it. So I'll give you a quick sneak peek. So I'm just going to go out of all this, right? Yes, exit, 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 yes. And this is their software, obviously, right? So if I go out of this, there you go, look. This is now the Hubby Tools battery tester. And then their battery tester, which I do have, their battery tester is here, look. So yeah, it's just really cool how you can do that. Let's see, does the engine light go off? Yeah, engine light goes off, spanner light goes off. Let's take this for a drive and see what happens. Right, I've taken it for a quick little drive. I want to check now the levels. Make sure the water level isn't too high or too low. Hold on a second, looks good from here. Shouldn't really do this. Make sure there's no pressure. No, no pressure. Right, good to go. Make sure there's no pressure down here on this pipe. No, no pressure on the radiator pipe. So we're all good to go. So as always, hope it helps. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Don't forget, things will be links down below, but most importantly, don't forget, be handsy. See you for the next one. 40.